You can have all this world. Give me Jesus.
Hey everybody, I am here with Jacqui Denny, who has gone on a trip over the summer, and really we just wanted to get an update, Jacqui, about how the trip went, and things you got to experience. So I guess introduce yourself and give kind of base details of the trip you went on before we get into some questions.
I am Jacqui. I am currently at college. I go to Oklahoma Baptist University, and I'm actually graduating in the spring, which is super exciting. I went to the Pearl House, which is a women's home in Ghana, Africa this summer, and I got to really just do life with these girls. I got to work at their school that they have and just love on them.
Awesome. So what was kind of one big thing? I know there was a lot of things that happened, right? In a lot of ways that you definitely saw God work. But what is kind of one big way that you saw God work, or something you saw God do during this trip?
I would say something that the Lord consistently showed me and reminded me was just his goodness and his faithfulness. I was reading through my journal that I kept while I was there, and something that I was constantly being reminded of was just how faithful he was and is. Um, it was easy to come in and have really just different expectations. And something that I saw was I almost like came in and had really high expectations of these girls are just going to like flock to me and we're just going to have just be best friends right off the bat. And a lot of the older girls, you have to earn a lot of their trust and just like show them that you're there for them. And so something that I really struggled with a lot was feeling discouraged by just like expectations not being met. Which looking back, I can see how the Lord really exceeded my expectations with this experience. But I just saw how I could get discouraged. And so just through journaling, I would just be very open and be like, Lord, I just like give me a conversation, just give me a really good encounter with one of the pearls tomorrow. And time again, the Lord is faithful to give me that and grow those relationships and um, just give me really sweet conversations, whether it was about their families and kind of where they came from and kind of what they'd been through, or whether it was what's your dream, like what do you want to be, so some people want to be pilots and some want to be nurses. Nobody really wants to be a teacher over there, which I'm not sure why, but that's okay. um but it was just like sweet to have those kind of like, okay, like tell me about your dreams and tell me about what you've been through, and those kind of deeper conversations and getting to talk about the Lord in that. But then also we had conversations about the fruit in Ghana and like they would give me history lessons and teach me Fonte, which is their language, and teach me French and all these like different things. And so it was sweet to see how time and time again I'd asked, Lord, give me conversations, Lord, give me a sweet encounter. And time again, like he was faithful to hear those prayers and to know, okay, you're feeling discouraged, Jacqui, like let me give this to you. And so that was something that I really saw the Lord moving and working in this summer.
Yeah, and that's good. I love that. That's awesome. So with that, this kind of is a piggyback question a little bit, and kind of covers some you just said. But what is like one kind of a big lesson that you kind of took away from all of this? Something that you saw you can come back with and like easily tell someone like why a trip like this and why like the Pearl House is worth going and helping.
Yeah, something that the Lord was really teaching me this summer, and it's been neat to see how I've gotten to practice it and apply it to life here,
Mhm.
is just the fact of like glorifying him in the mundane moments of life, which is
Mhm.
funny to think about because you wouldn't think like the summer that I had, I would have mundane moments.
Mhm.
But one of the books I was reading through when I was there talks about these moments, and one of the quotes that I really clung to is there's no task too small to glorify the Lord.
Mhm.
And it kind of goes along with this idea of the Lord is like forming us into new people, and that formation takes place in the small everyday moments of today. And
Mhm.
so something that I really learned while I was there was kind of every day looked vaguely the same, of like going to the school and helping them cook and helping them with their homework and devotion and all of those things. And so something that the Lord was really teaching me was like leaning into those small moments and like
Mhm.
seeing those as a way to glorify the Lord and as a way that he is like forming me and shaping me. Um,
Mhm.
and so, and it was kind of something that I talked about earlier about like how it was in those moments that you get to love on the people that you're serving, and
Mhm. Mhm.
you might not always get to have every conversation centered around the Lord, but all of these
Mhm.
conversations can be glorifying to the Lord, even when you're talking about fruit and Ghana or how much they love the Camp Rock series and those songs. And so it was just like those small actions of really getting to worship the Lord through having those interactions with them and enjoying those and like leaning into those with joy, and cherishing those, um, was something that the Lord was really teaching me, and he taught me a lot with the girls and a lot with administrative tasks. A lot of what I did at the school was printing out paperwork, which their printer was sometimes we got into it. But their laminator also broke, and so a simple thing that would take a simple task that would take me 20 minutes here ended up taking like 3 days there. So
Mhm.
it was a
Mhm.
lot of just like, okay, like this can be frustrating. I can like look at it as that, or I can lean into this moment and recognize that, okay, I'm laminating their paperwork and I'm printing it out, and that's like a way of service, and that is a way that is like loving on these people really well. And so really just like an attitude and heart check of, okay, why are you doing this, and how can you glorify the Lord through this small task of hitting a copy button and hoping it
Mhm.
copies it the right way.
Yeah, I get that. I get that especially. So, and kind of right along with it, you slightly mentioned it, but kind of how did this trip kind of impact the way you feel God is leading you in your spiritual life and personally, whether through what you want to do with your life or where God is just overall leading you? How has this kind of impacted that?
I think something I really learned from this trip was what discipleship looks like. I feel
Mm.
like my time in Canada really taught me a lot about evangelism and how to reach people. And something that I really learned from this trip was what discipleship looks like and how to like live well with others. Um,
Mm.
and so obviously graduation is approaching. And I think while I'm not 100% sure what the next season of my life looks like, I think the lessons that the Lord taught me in the way of life that I got to experience is something that I want to implement in
Mm.
my life now and in college, but also in my life after college. And so I think a lot of what the Lord has taught me and has revealed to me about living life in the mundane moments and in those moments like glorifying him, whether that is doing a desk job or teaching or going overseas, like whatever he has in store for me, of like leaning into those moments and leaning into them with joy, recognizing the impact that they can have on the kingdom, and on loving people.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. Um, so with any trip, something crazy always happens, right? It could be a printer taking 3 days to do a job that should maybe take 20 minutes. Or it can be an airplane not being able to land because of a trashed airport. So what is one kind of crazy like thing that happened during your trip? And it can be anything.
Um, I would say the traveling was just, the Lord taught me a lot about flexibility and patience, through both traveling experiences. So on the way there, we ended up leaving a day later due to not having a visa that I knew we didn't need. And so the Lord taught me a lot about flexibility and like just trusting that I'm gonna get there when I'm supposed to get there. And with leaving a day later, that brought into account, okay, we got to go get COVID tests again, and we have to change our flights, and just the headache of it all. And so that was very wild. And then on the way back, we got to the airport like 3 hours before our flight, so we looked like we were gonna have a really good time. And for sure my fault, I checked us into the wrong airline. So that happened. And then the airline that we were flying, was our bags were too heavy for that airline, and so we had to like pay for a new bag and rearrange all of our baggage like in the line. And it's also like 9 p.m. at night, and we've said our goodbyes, so like we're very upset. And so the Lord just taught me a lot about patience and flexibility, and it was an interesting travel experience for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That I feel like that tops stuff that happened in Peru. It's just right there with it. So I get that for sure. And so how can we as a church be praying for you? And kind of, you mentioned graduation and not necessarily knowing what the future holds, which is 100% okay. But how can we as a church be praying for you going forward?
Yeah, I would say for one, just finishing this season well. College has been such a sweet season, and I have loved where the Lord has placed me in the ministry that I've gotten to do. And so just finishing the season well, especially with student teaching next semester, because I know it'll look different, but it'll be good. And then obviously just the looming future of having clarity and waiting well for the Lord's direction in it, and leaning into the future, like trusting the Lord, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Well, all right. Jacqui, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit and talk about your trip. I, look forward to hearing more about it next time I actually get to see you physically, next time you're back home. But yeah, we'll definitely be praying for you. And of course, keep us updated with anything that arises.
Yeah, thank you guys for your prayers.
Hey everybody, I am here with May Denny. She has just recently gotten back from a year-long trip of going around the world, but I'll kind of let her talk about that. So Annie, go ahead and introduce yourself, the trip, and then we'll get going with some questions.
Okay. Sounds great. Hi, everybody. My name is Annie May. For those of you who don't know me, I grew up in this church with my family, and I just got back from a mission trip called the World Race, where I traveled around the world, as Jake said, and went on a really awesome discipleship journey. My squad and I traveled to Chicago and Wisconsin Dells, and then internationally we traveled to Guatemala, Costa Rica, Colombia, and we ended in South Africa.
Wow. Yeah. So first question. what is kind of one big thing you saw God do? And I know there was a lot, but like kind of something that really sticks out, like way God moved or just something God really did.
Yeah. One of the coolest ways that I saw God move was God acting as a provider. And so one of the ministries that we take part in during the World Race is called ATL, which stands for Ask the Lord. And so during this ministry, we don't have a set of jobs or a set ministry that we're following. Instead, we come together as a team and we pray about where the Lord is leading us, and then we go. And we have a pretty tight, specific budget that we're supposed to follow while we're traveling and trust that the Lord is going to provide and take care of us and all the things we need. So my team and I, we were in South Africa. And at the beginning of our ATL time, we were in a town called Stellenbosch, where we were met with a ton of hospitality. The people there were so sweet. We met a lot of believers and connected with multiple churches in the area, and these people took beautiful care of us. The body of Christ worked in really cool ways, and we were blessed with free lodging and free food for like 5 nights. And we were like, this is great. We're going to save all of this money that we didn't have to spend, and we're going to use it when we go to Cape Town because it's more expensive in Cape Town. So long story short, we go to Cape Town, we book this hostel, and it's not what we expected. The hostel, it kind of smelled funny. It was in an unsafe neighborhood. And to be honest, our team just didn't have a lot of peace about being in this hostel. And we got a little bit worried. We had already paid for multiple nights at this hostel, and we were like, what are we going to do? We're going to lose all of this money if we decide to live somewhere else. And so we sat as a team and we prayed, which is the theme of ATL. We pray a lot. And we sit there as a team and we're praying. And a couple of the girls just felt like the Lord was like asking us to reach out. Go ahead and maybe fundraise a little bit of extra money so that you can have food for this last week. And so we did. We found a new place to stay. We left and we fundraised. 2 of the girls on my team reached out one of them reached out to her church, and another girl reached out to her mom's school where she works. And within 24 hours, we raised $1,000. And we were like, whoa, God, this is awesome. But like, what are we going to do with this money? We only need food for 1 week. And then everything unexpected started happening. So within the next 24 hours, one of my teammates came down with COVID. And so actually that abundance of money that the Lord had given us allowed us to be able to buy him a hotel room so he could quarantine. It paid for all of our COVID tests because we needed a negative test to show that we weren't exposed. It took care of the food that we needed for that week, and it was amazing because God knew all along these unexpected things that we didn't know that we would need money for. And so we took care of all that, and then we still had money left over. And we were like, wow, God, this is so awesome. Like, okay, what do you want us to do next? And we'd really been touched by the homeless population in Cape Town. And so we decided that we wanted to put together some care packages and some food to take out to some of the homeless people. And we were really going for quality over quantity, so we went in small groups and we wanted to spend a lot of time with each person that we met and hear their story and just listen to them and, give them the package. And one of the ladies that my friend and I met, her name was Emily. And she was so sweet. She was so welcoming. She invited us into her home, which was her blanket that she had laid out all nicely. And she just told us her story. She told us about her life. And she was a believer. And she talked about how faithful the Lord had been to her and how he's always taken care of her. But that she'd been really discouraged lately. And she'd just been struggling with trusting that the Lord was going to take care of her and trusting that he was going to provide for her. But that morning, when she woke up, she felt like the Lord told her that he had something special for her that day and that he was going to bless her with something. And then we got to meet her. And it was just really sweet that the Lord orchestrated our get-together before, we even had the idea of passing out this food. The Lord knew that we were going to meet Emily and we were going to get to pray for her and also be encouraged by her and her walk. So it was really cool.
Yeah. That really is amazing. Yeah. That's awesome. So kind of moving on, what is something that was just kind of crazy that happened? You know, like when we both went to Peru both times, just crazy stuff happened with travel. So it can be something like that, or it can be just something crazy of like a wow, that's a God moment. Some stuff like that. What's crazy things happened?
Yeah, we had so many crazy things happening. One that sticks out also took place during that ATL time that I was just talking about when we were in South Africa. And when we first started ATL and we decided that we were going to go to Stellenbosch, I felt like the Lord put this specific church on my heart. It was Stellenbosch Baptist Church. And I was like, I feel like we're just supposed to like get in our Ubers and travel there and then just like see what happens. I was like, I don't think we're supposed to call them. I don't think we're supposed to find them online. I just think we need to go in faith and trust that like the Lord's going to take care of it.
Okay.
And so we look up how much the Ubers were going to cost, and it was the exact amount of money that we had saved from the previous day. So we had the exact amount of money we needed to get to town, and we were like, okay, thank you, God. Like, this is the sign. We're going, whatever. And we get to the church, and we show up in these 3 separate Ubers, and the secretary of the church, her name was Elaine, was like, what are you guys doing here? She's like, these 9 Americans just showed up at my doorstep and I don't know them. I don't know what they're doing. I have nothing for them. Like, she was like so surprised. And honestly, she didn't even want to let us into the church, but eventually she let us in. She let us sit kind of in like their fellowship hall, and she was like, you guys can sit here for a couple of hours, but then like you need to leave. Like I leave work at noon, and it was almost noon. She's like, I'll stay till 4 today, but like then you guys got to go. And so we're like, okay, yeah, thank you for like welcoming us. Thank you for this space. We needed a place to put our bags that would be safe so that we could pray about what the Lord had next, and that's what she provided us. And so we went in the sanctuary and we were praying as a team. And it was crazy because in the amount of time that we were sitting in there praying, the Lord changed Elaine's heart literally right in front of us to the point where Elaine came in and she offered for us to stay at the church that night for free. She went to the grocery store and bought us dinner so that we would have food for that night and breakfast for the next morning. And she gave me the keys to the church. She was like, make sure you lock up before you go to bed. She showed me how the gate worked, all these things. And I was like, you don't even know me. And you just handed me the keys to your church that you've been a member of for 20 plus years. And you're welcoming us so, so sweetly. And 2 hours ago, you didn't want anything to do with us. And it was just crazy because when we open our hearts to the Lord, he wants to come in and change how we feel and change how we see things. And we saw it right in front of our eyes, and it was crazy, all the way to the point where the next day, Elaine normally leaves work at noon, and she was like, I'll stay until 4 or 5 again today before you guys leave, you know. And she even drove us to where we were going next. We took a picture with her. It was so great. And she was like, actually, I'm really sad to see you guys leave. Like, you've brought a bunch of life to the church, and it's going to be really quiet when y'all aren't here tomorrow. So it was like really, really sweet and crazy that, like, she didn't even want to let us in the door all the way to the point where we were almost there for, like, 48 hours. Getting to know Elaine and just like spending time with her. So it was crazy. And then we also like did some crazy things. We had some crazy adventures that were super fun. We went horseback riding in the rivers of Costa Rica. We went shark cage diving in South Africa, which I would recommend. It's a lot of fun. It's a little dangerous, but it's okay. I'm fine. I have notes of like all the crazy things, but we hiked a volcano. It was inactive, but we hiked this volcano in Guatemala, and that was a crazy experience because we hiked for like, I think it was like 10 or 12 hours or something with our big packs on because we needed our tents and stuff because we were going to sleep at the top of the volcano. It was crazy. That was also a really cool spiritual experience too, because when you're just like hiking something and having to like put a lot of like physical effort forward, it brings you closer to the Lord in that way. So that was just also really cool and stuff. And we just got to have a lot of really fun, cool experiences this past year. So it's cool.
Man, that's, I think you've done like enough for a lifetime.
Right?
Man, yeah, that's crazy. So what is one big kind of lesson, one giant takeaway of like something of like to really hang your hat on, like, this is why I was meant to go on this trip?
Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so one of the reasons that I went on the race is I wanted to learn how to depend on the Lord more. And I did not know what that meant before I left. I just knew that I had had a really comfortable life, and I was like, I kind of want to step out. I think it's a little too simple for me here. It's too comfortable. Anyway, so in Guatemala, a couple weeks after we were being there, my friend and I both came down with COVID. And so my team and I, we all had to quarantine. And during this time of quarantine, I obviously couldn't be with other people. And I got really stuffy in my room. And so I'd go outside and I'd sit on this perfect little concrete slab that I promise was made exactly for me. And I would spend like hours with the Lord in the morning. It was so great. I'd sit out there, I would worship, I'd journal, I'd read my Bible. I mean, all the things. And I had nothing else to do. I mean, it was just me and God for hours. And it was so great. And come to find out, the perfect concrete slab that I thought was just made for me was actually a sewer, which is why there was a big concrete slab in the middle of the grass. But it's fine. It was comfortable. I laid on it and everything. I did not know it was a sewer until the very end of the week. But during this time that I was spending with the Lord was bringing up a lot of areas in my life that I'd struggled, and a lot of things that were challenging for me that I'd really pushed down for a long time. And the Lord was challenging me in how much control I'd had over my life. And the Lord was pushing me to relinquish the control back to him and to really trust him in a new way. And if you would have asked me before if I trust the Lord, I would have said, of course, yes, I do. But I didn't fully understand what that meant. And I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But the Lord kind of used that to teach me more about what it means to trust him. And so after quarantine, we go back. We have 2 more weeks with our ministry. And my mentor texted me and was like, hey, Annie, I'd love for you to speak at our upcoming debrief about whatever's on your heart. And I was like, is this a joke? Like, I am not in a great place right now. I have nothing to say to everybody. Like, I'm struggling. I'm broken. I've got control issues. I'm trying to do everything on my own and all this stuff. And I was like, I mean, I guess I'll think of something. Like, I'll ask the Lord. We'll see. And so during that time of praying and asking the Lord what he wanted me to share, he brought up Matthew 16 and Mark 8, which both are the chapters where it talks about taking up your cross and following Jesus. So I'm going to read Matthew 16, verse 24. It says, then Jesus told his disciples, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. And in sitting with this verse and reflecting on what it meant, I also found the same verse in Luke, and I was looking in Luke, and there's the part in Luke where Jesus is praying to the Father, and he says, Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. And I was just sitting with that verse, and we all know the end of the story. Jesus does go to the cross, and he does die for us, and he picks up his cross, and he does the thing. But he asked the Father, if there's any other way this can be done, please, let's do it a different way. But there wasn't. And I felt like that was an example in Scripture where even Jesus showed surrendering to the Father's will and surrendering to what the Lord had. And I knew that the Lord was asking me to surrender things, and I really didn't want to. And so I shared this passage with the girls on my squad. I spoke at the girls' night. I don't know how I ended up being at the girls' night, but I was sitting there with all the girls from my squad surrounding me, all of our leadership, and I'm sobbing because I know what the Lord was asking me to do, and I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to let go of the few things that I have held on to. I like to be in control. I like to know what's happening. I don't want to give these things over to the Lord, and I was really wrestling with it. But I knew all along I wasn't going to win. And yet I was still fighting, which is interesting. But later that day, our mentor had us draw a picture of how we were feeling. And so I was like, ugh, if anybody knows me, I do not like art. I don't like drawing. It is not fun for me. And I was like, this is the worst, but I'll do it. And I closed my eyes, and I just got this image of my hands. And one of my hands was in this really, really tight fist, and it was clenched really tight. And then my other hand was open. And I feel like the Lord was saying, Annie, you're on the fence. you've been trying to live in both of these worlds and you can't. You're going to have to make a decision. And you have the choice. You can close the other fist and hold on to what you really want to hold on to. Or you can choose to open the other hand and create space for me to come and work in your life. And I was like, okay, God. I was like, we'll see. And to be honest, I wrestled with it for a few more days. Every night at worship, people would be like, Andy, are you okay? And I'd just be crying. I was like, I don't think so. But like, me and Lord are going through this thing and I'm fighting it. And it got all the way to one of the last nights of debrief, and we were having baptisms. And my mentor was inviting us to wash away certain old things, to let go of things and release them to the Lord. And I knew that the Lord wanted me to release a lot of things to him, specifically to release control to him. But I really didn't want to. And I watched multiple squad mates get up there before I reluctantly got into the water. And I remember getting in the water, and I remember my mentor asking me, like, Annie, what are you giving up today? What are you releasing to the Lord? And I actually wrote it down. And I told her, I said that today I'm releasing control. I'm choosing to let go of my expectations, and I'm choosing to let go of the need to be perfect. I'm choosing to open my hands to receive what the Lord has, because I know it's better than what I have. Sorry. And I remember standing in that water and trying to like physically open my hands. I was standing there and I was like, I'm trying to physically open my hands. And my mentor was like, Annie, it's not going to be done in your strength. This is going to be done in the Lord's strength. So I remember sitting there and I took a deep breath and my hands opened and I was baptized. And I remember coming up and feeling more free than I'd ever felt in my whole life. And since then, the Lord's been continuously reminding me that this is a daily thing. Like in Luke, it says to take up your cross daily. It's daily that we have to decide to surrender to the Lord's will. It's daily that we have to wake up and say, you know, God, I'm going to choose to keep my hands open and receive what you have because I know it's better. It's daily that I have to ask the Lord for his strength and not try to rely on my own. And so since being on the race and, on the race itself, the Lord just really opened my eyes to how much sweeter it is when we fully surrender ourselves to him and how much sweeter what he has is for us. And since then, I'm also still learning how to do things in his strength and not do them in my own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. It's all right. So with that, how has this whole trip and the whole experience and everything you just mentioned, how has that impacted the way you feel God leading you?
Yeah. On the world race, the Lord wrecked my heart and really grew my heart for the global church and grew my passion for bringing the church together as a whole. We all come from different cultures and we come from different countries and different places, but we're unified and we are the church all together. And to be honest, I don't know exactly what the Lord wants me to do with that passion yet or with that heart. But there is a possibility of an opportunity that I have in January that is it's an organization with the same people who put on the World Race. It's a different program that they have called the Center for Global Action.
Yeah.
CGA is what they call it. And it's basically a training and it's an equipping to better learn about the gifts that God's given you and how you can use them to bring kingdom. And so that's a possibility that I may be starting in January, but I'm still praying about what the Lord has when it comes to the next season.
Yeah, I got you. And hey, it's okay to not know, right? Because not everyone has it figured out. So with that, how can we be praying for you as a church? Whether it's kind of big things like you just said, there's an opportunity opening, and just personally, things that we could really pray for.
Yeah, the church can join with prayer with me in praying for peace, specifically for what this next season looks like, praying for peace in my own heart and peace in my family's heart as the Lord continues to direct and guide my path, and just praying for clarity that I would know for certain where the Lord is asking me to go next and that I would go boldly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And we will definitely be praying and keep us updated, especially about that opportunity.
Will do.
Welcome to Catalyst Initiative Athletic. Welcome to Catalyst Initiative Athletic Club. So the story behind this building was that back in March of 2020, Church on the Rock had made the conscious decision to basically change the style of ministry up here in Canada. The reason was because we saw so many different people that were coming through our Sunday morning worship services, which was great, but they were all either people that had been to church before, or ones that were Christians that had been Christians for a long time, or those that were disgruntled with their church. And most of the gospel conversations that we were having and friendships and relationships that we were building were happening in just everyday life, things that we were doing, that we were already doing as a part of our everyday life. But here now, what we started to realize was that because those relationships were happening outside of the church walls, which is what you really wanted, the Sunday morning service was not accomplishing what it was set out to do. We weren't seeing a kingdom impact happening from that. And so we made the conscious decision to change to a missional church model, thus Catalyst Initiative Athletic Club. So with Church on the Rock, we have 7 different missional churches that reach into different areas of the community. Ones that reach students, one that reach the adoption and foster care community. We have ones that reach generations, which is the senior adult community. And then this one here is called Catalyst Initiative Athletic Club, which is part of our missional church called Catalyst Initiative. The whole aim of that was to reach into the athletic community. We were building relationships both at the gym that we go to, through Cougar Volleyball Club, which I'm the director of, out on the baseball field. You know, we had so many different relationships that were happening from there, and those were stirring gospel conversations with people that we had those relationships with. And so in the end, what developed was this, the athletic club, where we started a facility for our volleyball club, and then in turn wanted to reach out into the athletic community. What we noticed about Pitt Meadows and Maple Ridge is that there was not the high-performance training athletic center that other communities around the lower mainland of Vancouver have. So all of the athletes that wanted to train at a high level had to leave Maple Ridge and Pitt Meadows and go to other communities. Well, with the start of Cougar Volleyball needing a facility, with Josh and Lisa, our other church planters, becoming certified personal trainers, and then with the Cougar Volleyball Club being here, we had a basketball club here, we had adult volleyball that was happening here, we started to realize this is our church. It wasn't just a matter of a Sunday service, it was a matter of these people were coming together as a part of a community, and yeah, it was a volleyball community, and it was an athletic community. But we said, what if we took the gospel and aimed to create a positive change in the athletic community, which is the whole basis for Catalyst Initiative Athletic Club. We want to take the gospel and Jesus and the message and the hope of Jesus into the athletic community and start to see a real kingdom impact happening there.
So Willow Park, thank you so much for your partnership in the gospel, but with our family. The Lynches, we know how loved we are by your family. We know that you guys pray for us. You're constantly checking in on us. You send sweet gifts to our children. I cannot thank you enough for what you guys have done. It's because of you guys that we're able to have these gospel conversations. It's because of you guys that I'm able to now work here with Sean and make things smoother and go a little bit better as far as the day-to-day operations with each other. But more than anything, the conversations that we are having are absolutely incredible, and it wouldn't be possible without you guys. So thank you for your partnership, your monthly partnership. Thank you for your prayers. They're felt. The enemy's real, and he would love to steal, kill, and destroy, but we are seeing gospel impact happening all around our community. Thank you guys for making that possible.